KNOBLICH.
I have never seen a miracle quite like this before. Do you see this? Do you believe this? He is born again.
I released the book in 2008, and I released Raging Bull in 2014. So between the book and Raging Bull, that was quite a run. 6 years. In those 6 years, I released something crazy like 11 or 12 albums, from the Jonestown trilogy to Vaudeville to the Dark Tape. Not all of them were masterpieces, but with that amount of quantity, they're not always going to be. Maybe there's some I should have held back on, but I was on a mission. I just wanted to drop as much music as possible. I wanted to flood the hip-hop community with everything I could. I was a fucking machine. Moonshine and we had this insane system going where we would be halfway finished recording an album and we were already plotting the other one. It is mainly due to my insanity. I won't put that craziness entirely on his shoulders. I just couldn't settle. We put out the book, and the book wasn't I didn't really think the book. I didn't treat the book the way I should have treated the book. All it was to me was something to get my name back out there as I worked on Let the Children Die, which I looked at as my masterpiece as I was creating it. So the book was really just the first 5 or 6 songs I had. And Daryl from HerbNet was courting me, wanting to release my music. He was a fan of mine for a long time. And I just kind of gave it to him, like, here, get this out so people know I'm back. It was an entirely different sound than what I was doing when I left. You know, you can go listen to Popped, and you can hear the differences. But that's all that was to me. It wasn't supposed to be anything. And it just took on a life of its own. Let the Children Die, that was my baby. I believe that did what I wanted it to do. And then I think after Let the Children Die, I don't remember. I don't think Vaudeville was next. It was Jonestown. Then I dropped Vaudeville, where I wanted to get a bit more commercial. And I just felt it was a bit too polished, which listening back, it's not at all. But that's why I felt I had to get Jonestown 2 out there. And I consider Jonestown 2 probably my greatest album, tied with the Dark Tape. But we were working on an insane pace, and I had an insane run. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the most prolific Canadian rapper of all time, because Mocha only takes the cake. I think I might be a pretty solid silver medal, and then I was gone. I didn't, maybe I shouldn't get too personal. No, but you know what? This is the point of this, is to, I don't believe I got the success I should have received. Like I said, I'm not saying every album I did was a 5 out of 5 or a 5 mic in the source, but, I definitely had a handful of tracks that could have done some big things. I like to think that, and this is not an insult, but if Classified put out West Coast probably would have been way bigger than it actually was. Speaking on Classified, the point of all of this, I always thought the missing link to the entire approach was my lack of proper touring. At the time, though I was pumping out music like a machine and receiving critical acclaim and getting attention as far as journalists were concerned, I wasn't really able to flex my live performance muscle. And I toot my horn as a pretty good live performer. At the time, I wasn't big enough to headline shows. I never should have, with the exception of record release parties in Toronto, I should have never headlined a tour. I didn't have a draw. I should have been put on a tour with a bigger artist opening for said artist, which is what most artists do. Classified was touring the country back and forth like a wild animal, building this insane audience. And I was always envious of him. And I wish I could have done it myself. I guess I could have, in hindsight. It reminds me of, I was on the Strombo show once. I don't remember what record it was we were talking about, but he asked me if I was going on tour. I said I didn't have any plans, and it's probably somewhere. You can find it. And he said, you have to get on the road. It's important. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I can't. Making excuses for myself. I could have done it. But he then told me, he goes, if you can book a tour, I promise you, because I don't know, I was probably saying some shit about I couldn't afford the transportation or the gas. I didn't have the money to back it, and the label didn't have money to back it. And George told me, if you can book a tour, I promise you I will pay. I will never forget that. He said, I will pay for the gas and the van rental to get you around this country. And I did not take him up on that. Like a total fucking dingbat. So that was opportunity 700 that was flushed down the toilet. But I thought a booking agent was the answer. I truly believed an agency, they can get me on tours. And it was definitely around the beginning of my relationship with Mel, my wife. So it was probably 2010, 2011. I was working with Adam Sewell. You may know him as lead singer of Monster Voodoo Machine, a legendary Canadian band. And he was managing me at the time. And I will say, I don't think I was manageable back then. This was also around the Lamont Dozier lawsuit. But yeah, I thought I had all the answers. My one mistake was I believed the music would speak for itself. I thought Moon and myself and, Norm from ARC and the other producers I was working with at the time, I thought we were making fucking masterpieces and they would speak for themselves. And it didn't happen. I was wrong. But Adam Sewell called me and said, I have agency interest. I wasn't going to say the name, but fuck it, who cares? I have nothing to lose at this point. It was with a booking agency called Paquin. I think that they're still around, and they're probably still relatively big. He sets up a meeting. They're interested. They want to rep me. We sit down. We're signing the contract. It is myself, Adam, Julian Paquin, and Tej Sandhu. Tej became my agency representative who would oversee all things D-Sisive. Julian Paquin, you can probably figure it out off the last name, founder of the agency. And I'll never forget, as I was signing that contract, Julian Paquin said to me, D-Sisive, I promise you, we will have you headlining Massey Hall in 3 years. I will never forget those words as long as I live. And I was so excited. I left that meeting. I called Mel. She was at work. I was freaking out, telling her, this is it. It's going to happen. Needless to say, it didn't happen. I'm not going to get into things that went down between myself and the agency. Some my fault, but I won't take full accountability of it. But yeah, let's just say my first ever meeting, it went a little weird. I think I did one tour that they booked. It was a total disaster. They had first put together a tour, and I sent it to DJ Tech 12, who's one of my best friends. He looked over, and he had toured the country a dozen times with DL Incognito. And he looked at my dates and said, you do realize this is insane, right? And I didn't know what he was talking about. And he was just like, geographically speaking, this makes no sense. So like, you're driving from Ontario to BC, then back to Manitoba, then, I don't know, to Newfoundland, and just back, forth. He's like, these guarantees you're getting from promoters, they won't even pay for the gas. This is insane. So I took it back to the agency. They got angry at me, saying I should be digging in my own pockets to pay for that. I didn't call Strombo to save the day, but it was ridiculous. Now, we ended up shaving off a number of dates and put together a tour. That worked, but it was me performing in front of 15 fucking people, like majority of my shows were back then. It was a total disaster. So things quieted down a little bit between myself and Paquin, and then lightning struck oil. That makes no sense, but I thought it would if I combined both of those. Maybe it could make sense. If I drink your milkshake. I recorded a song with Never Ending White Lights. Mr. Daniel Victor, who is still one of my good friends. And we recorded a song called Don't Turn the Lights Out, which we got a MuchFat grant to record a video, to film a video for. And I went to Los Angeles with him to shoot the video. That is another podcast for another day. The final product, directed by RT, it kind of made a little noise. It created a bit of a rumble. And that song debuted, I believe it was like number 26 on the MuchMusic Countdown. And one of my dreams was to always be on the MuchMusic / Coca-Cola Countdown. And here I was, on the countdown. Sadly, this was around a time when MuchMusic was starting to sink, and being on that countdown didn't mean as much as it would have had it been like 10 years earlier. But still, I was excited. I was there. I was in the game. First person I call, Paquin. I got to tell him this, because this definitely adds some value to my name. This we can use. I had Juno nominations, but this is the countdown. And to me, the countdown was bigger than the Juno. So I don't get a call back. I end up receiving an email from someone at Paquin. And you got to keep in mind, I'm telling them that I'm on a mainstream chart. This is the news that I'm bringing, only to be told that my agency rep no longer works for the company, which no one told me. And congratulations on debuting on the chart, but we are dropping you from the agency. Bang, bang, bing, bang, pow. Like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas when he tells the story just before the "Do I amuse you?" Ping, pong, pow. And I felt such a ruthless slap across my tits. I felt so defeated, so discouraged, so what's the fucking point? That the excitement about the countdown was quickly gone. Within 2 weeks, I was off. We never went higher than 19. I thought we may hit number one because Never Ending White Lights hit number one with a song with Jay Diggs. And I thought my song was way better than his song with Jay Diggs, but the programmers thought otherwise. So that dream was over. I tell that story because my career seems to have a pattern of doing things later than they should be. I've always been late, the classic Johnny come lately. Look at this. I'm starting a podcast years after, it being a new platform. I've started doing YouTube vlogs years after. I'm late. And it sometimes hurts me when I think about what I lost. After Raging Bull, my life went downhill. It's shitty what happened. It's a complicated story. It happened, and that turned into 8 missing years. Artists work so hard to create a buzz and to try to build a name in the industry they work in. Every little bit counts. And the minute you fall behind, it makes it that much more harder to climb back up. It's like climbing a mountain. But imagine you're getting halfway up a mountain and then an avalanche fucking happens, and an avalanche would probably kill you. But I don't know. I'm trying to make this make sense. A gust of wind sends you right back down, and you gotta and this gust of wind takes your shoes or your oxygen tank, and that's what I did to myself. Like, in a way, I'm here, but I'm 8 years late. The game is different. The journalists aren't the same most of them aren't even around anymore. The label reps aren't even around anymore. The sound is different. 17-year-old kids who record songs into their cell phones now ruin. I meant to say rule. Rule the scene, the industry, the genre. I am an old man. The fact that I'm even giving it another shot is kind of crazy, but this is my dream, and it's never left me. I have days where I wish it did. Like, I wish I could wake up tomorrow and not want to do this anymore, and maybe go back to school and study something. I may have a better chance at being successful doing that, but I can't shake this dream. And I'm either going to be a joke to people, or I'm going to be an inspiration to people. And I hope that I can be the second thing. In October, I launched KNOBLICH Gardens. And it's an idea that was sitting in my head for a very long time, but there was no structure. There was no nothing. It was just, it's time. My back was against the wall. I just heard the Burn Your Ships story by Tony Robbins, and it just got, I don't know, I just decided it has to happen now. And with this music, I'm going to release 2 EPs a month. I'm going to have a weekly podcast. I'm going to start a vlog, everything. And I'll do it no problem, because I was a machine at one point. I know I can do this. I did it before. I can do it again. But it was different. It's one thing being a machine back then, but that machine had a muscle that was being developed since the age of 15. I started writing rap songs in 95. It took a while to get to a point where in 2008, I can literally write a song a day. Jonestown 2, I consider my best album. We made that album in 2 weeks. That whole album was recorded over the course of 2, maybe 3 sessions at Timbuktu Studio, downtown Toronto. And they were like parties. Atom Bomb was there. Nameless was there. Chocules came by. Civilian, Timbuktu, Moonshine, my boy Kyle. Everyone rolled through. And then we'd go to Duff's and eat chicken wings like animals after. And that was 2 weeks. And I thought I could do it now. But 8 years can take a toll on your brain, on your songwriting ability. It's not like riding a bike. The positive part is it's all starting to come back together. And the KNOBLICH Gardens project is something that I kind of want to fix as we go along. I'm on month 3, and month 1 and 2 have not been flawless delivery-wise, meaning the rollouts. And it bothers me a lot, because these are not the mistakes I wanted to make. They're not the mistakes I thought that I'd make, but mistakes are being made. The positive part is the fan base that's rolling with me. They understand, and they are so amazing, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people. I love them so much. They're the reason I'm still going at this. They get, like, as of right now, it's 3:37 p.m., Sunday, January 22nd. Just before I started recording this, I uploaded my second vlog, and I still have to finish Playground Volume 2, which is just about done. But I'm just showing you where I'm at. You know, and the insanity of this is it's a 2-man operation. Myself and Rob Moonshine Bakker. It's just 2 of us running this whole thing. Like the shit that we're doing now, you know, podcasts, vlogs, 2 releases a month, live listening session via Zoom. Like, these are things that require teams, but we're doing it ourselves. And that's not counting his day job, my job, and I have to take care of 3 children. You know, it's been crazy. Should I have maybe waited a little bit before I announced this and rolled it out? Yes. But if I did that, would I have started it? Probably not. And once again, I would have been late. Oh, that kind of went full circle. Or no, maybe it's not as good as I think. You just got to get to a point where you got to jump into the fire. Oh, you got to burn the ships. Tony Robbins. And is KNOBLICH Gardens running perfectly? No. But it's getting there. And it's a lot. It's when I think about it now, like back then, dropping in 3 albums a year, that was nothing. Nothing. Features and verses here and there and all other random things like If I Live to See Tomorrow, the Adam Yauch dedication. But yeah, like it's crazy. And I think I wanted to record this and put this out, one, to finally get my actual podcast started. I have one that is only given to people who pre-order KNOBLICH Gardens. That's a separate one. But this is the one that's going to be out there that you have to subscribe to. This one I'm going to post on YouTube tonight, but it's also going to show up on the podcasty things eventually this week. But I just wanted to just talk to you guys. And, I guess in a way, I look at the vlog, I look at the music, that's D-Sisive. That's KNOBLICH. I don't even know if D-Sisive is still D-Sisive, but that's KNOBLICH. On the podcast, this is Derek. This is not the superhero. This is not the alter ego. This is where I'm going to be honest about everything. You watch the vlogs, I'm the greatest rapper of all time. I still think I'm one of them. That's not something I'm making up for entertainment. But the podcast is where you're going to hear it all. I guess I just wanted to take this moment just to be straight with you all and tell you it's hard. It's fucking hard, and I'm struggling, and it's a fight. This wasn't the success I was hoping it would be. I was praying that, I look back, you look at the book To Raging Bull, 6 years, all those albums. I never took control of my own YouTube pages. I never took control of a mailing list. I'm sure at one point I had thousands of fans. Other people were able to benefit off that shit, and that's my fault. But I thought for sure, after all of that, the Juno nominations, the MMVA nominations, Polaris lists, the fans, I thought I would come back to a pretty heavy number, but I didn't. And it was very humbling. And I know myself and Moon, we kept it pretty clear between ourselves that this is going to be a slow build. And it has been. But I just thought there would be a bit of a bigger boom on my return. But 8 years can do a lot to somebody. An 8-year disappearance can impact a buzz. So to all you aspiring rappers out there or anyone, if you learn anything from this, if you've gotten this far, and thank you if you have, 8 years, do not disappear for 8 years. It will be very, very bad. But I'm back, and I'm hoping I can get this back to where I was at Raging Bull times 1,000. And it's not a bad thing. It just means I have to work extra hard to wake some of the oldies up and attract some new listeners, some new supporters. So it's all about making a positive out of everything, because I'm not going to stop. I apologize. Maybe some of the projects are going to be a little bit late. I don't know. I'm hoping not. I have an afternoon tea coming in a couple of weeks. KNOBLICH Gardens 3 is dropping. Playground, which is now something Rob and I have turned that into something extremely special. I'm dropping part 2 hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday, but part 3 is going to be utter insanity. But it's coming. The response I received may not be as massive as I thought it would be. I am the complete opposite of headlining Massey Hall. But I am so grateful for what I have. And that is the most sincerest thing I could say. Anyone who's here with me, if you've made it to this, even in this podcast, if you've listened to this whole thing, I fucking love you so much. And I'm sorry if I've ever let you down. And I'm sure I have. I've done that to a lot of people. But all I can do is try to fix it and be better than I was yesterday. But everything I've promised, it's coming. Playground 2 may not have dropped when I wanted it to, but it's coming. It's all coming. And I honestly believe come next November, when we are walking into the 12th KNOBLICH Gardens, shit's going to be massive. I sincerely believe it. And I hope all of you who are here right now are still with me. And you're standing underneath the confetti and the champagne. And we're celebrating like Kobe Bryant winning the basketball. I don't know why I went to sports. I know nothing about sports. I thought I was onto something cool. I love you. And thank you. See you next week.
KNOBLICH.